Good morning. I'm Scott Mellema, and we are the Voyages of Merlin. And we are here live in Flint, Michigan at St. Luke's New Life Center. I'd like to introduce Sister Carol Weber. She's in charge of the center.
Good morning. Glad to meet you. Hi,
Good
Scott.
morning. Hello. Let's start. What can you tell us about the center?
First of all, we were founded because we had been doing street ministry, which meant we went out onto the streets with clothing and food. And then we met some women who were in desperate situation. And one had given birth to a baby alone in the abandoned home in winter, in January, in Flint. So anyway, that catapulted us into knowing we had to do more. So we founded this center, Sister Judy and I, and we help people take hold of their lives. We give them a new start. We service people who are felons, who've been incarcerated for lots of reasons. Some of them are addicts, both alcohol and drug. And we try to give them a new start.
Wonderful.
And we have lots of people that come here for food because we service over 3,000 people a month with food and meals.
3,000 people a month.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
I'd like to head down and we'll look at the facility a little bit. If you don't mind, let's walk on down.
Okay, sure.
I was reading your bio off of the St. Luke's site, and I thought it was really interesting. You were talking about how questions sort of propelled you
Yes.
through your life.
Yes.
And first question about kind of being in service, taking services, becoming a sister. And then you went to the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
And you were working with ladies there.
Yes.
And this is interesting. What was it that made you spend the time in the Dominican Republic and then sort of look backwards and say, we need this help in America?
That was part of my job when I was working for my own religious community. I went to the Dominican Republic because I was formation director. And they used to meet in the afternoon with the women. Their big meal was at noon, and the women had to be involved in getting their meal ready.
Yeah.
And in the afternoon, when everybody else was taking a siesta, they came to us.
Okay.
And we were doing faith sharing. And they would talk about their challenges and how they met them and how they wanted to support each other. And I never felt completely called to be across the ocean for mission work.
Yeah.
But I just somehow felt that it could be done here too.
Yeah.
And when this opportunity presented itself, when we had been doing the street ministry, it took my heart, and I really felt that I needed to do something, and my religious community said, go for your dream.
Okay. Because that was my question. Of all the places in America, how did you wind up in Flint? Flint.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, I came here for ministry. I came to finish my studies, came back to finish my studies, and ended up here in Flint because I was feeling the call to do something for those who didn't have all that I had, because I have an education. And if you educate someone, they get freedom.
Education is freedom.
You can open up the world to somebody who's educated. And so we work very diligently here to provide education for people so they have their own voice.
Well, and tell me, the population that you serve, the people of Flint, what's it like right now? Who are the people that you serve?
I would have to say it's desperate right now. There is very little trust because they feel that they've been blindsided with the whole water situation, that they've been lied to. They were taken advantage of. We have water recovery programs here, and the one thing that continually comes through is their lack of trust.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably long coming because Flint was desperate prior to the water situation that we have. And now, you know, that on top of things, I can imagine what that does to
This is
compound.
just one more thing on the backs of the poor.
The backs of the poor.
And they are already desperate, so they feel that this is a safe place and that this is a place where people care about them. We can't take care of all their difficulties, obviously, but we sure can be there to listen and help them as much as we can. So we walk the journey of the water difficulty right with them.
And actually, you know what? I want to take a pause from our conversation for a moment. We're going to go and speak to Joe Nowitzki, who is the creator of the Merlin. And he's going to show us something very special that he has placed in St. Luke's to help with the program here. We're going to do this right now because actually he's come in to do a little bit of cleaning, and it's really important that we take a look at it. So let's head on over to the pantry where the filter is. Hey, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Thought we'd talk a second about why you're here, but first, are we still trickling?
Yes, we are.
Come on in, Lynn. If you put this is the water tank. This is kind of holding the filtered water. And if you listen, if I stop talking, you can hear that it's just kind of trickling. Just kind of trickling in this big empty tub right now. And that's not the way it normally is, right, Joe?
That's correct. The only reason that it's trickling is because the filter, the primary filter, is clogged. It's blinded over. If you look at the bottom, that's the stuff this filter is saving these people from ingesting. All that stuff, and it's not. This has only been, I'll bet you that's a less than a week event here of collection of material. This ceramic filter is doing an incredible job right now, keeping the sediment and the particles and the iron oxide out of people's bodies and food.
It's almost, is it like a sludge?
Yeah, it's like it's a slimy particulate. It's really slippery, slimy particulates, but it's nasty stuff, and it's ever present in this system right now.
Now, I was reading an explanation that you gave for what is actually in the water and why it was bad.
Yeah.
Now, is this the layer that was inside the pipes?
Yes.
That you were talking about?
Yes. Yes. When they chlorinate the water, it's a super oxygenator, and it kills the E. coli.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it kills all the bacteria and stuff. So when they put a super amount of chlorination in it, which they did, they took all the protective coatings, the oxides, off the lead and the iron pipes, and it's now floating through the pipe and system, and it's going to be there for quite a while until they get the phosphate and the chlorine balanced.
It was an interesting sort of a give and take you were saying.
It's incredibly tight. It's an incredibly tight process.
So if I understand, you said that the water that they're getting now, the water that's coming in, is riddled with E. coli, and so that's why they use the chlorine.
Right.
Could you explain that? Because you explained that better than I'm probably remembering.
It's a chemical soup, and I'm not a water engineer, but my understanding is, typically in watered systems, in immunity systems, we put in the phosphates. The phosphates actually allow the coating on the lead pipes specifically to keep the lead particulates out of the water. It just forms a white coating on the inside of the pipes.
I was wondering that because I'm like, well, we're using lead pipes. How are we not just naturally getting lead in the water from those pipes? But you're saying
because there's a lead oxide coating on most of the pipes.
Okay.
Okay.
It develops inside.
And when they switched over, there was no lead in the Flint River water. There's no lead in the Flint River, but it's got a coli in it, which is a terrible, terrible pathogen. It'll do bodily harm, substantial.
Yeah.
So they super chlorinated the water to kill the E. coli. When they did that, it activated and oxygenated the water to the point where it scrubbed the pipes clean because of the chlorine.
Okay.
The super chlorine scrubbed the pipes. So at this point, they have to dial up the chlorine and dial it down, and they have to balance the phosphate and the chlorine.
So to beat the E. coli, they put the lead in the water, and then to get rid of the lead in the water, they're going to put the E. coli in the water. So it's kind of back and forth.
It's going to be a 2-year process, and they're
helping the people of Flint, and you're here to clean that right now.
I'm going to clean this right now. We'll get a
All
flow rate of about a gallon a minute out of this unit, and we'll have this tank filled up this morning.
And we'll come back and we'll actually have Joe explain to us how the whole thing works. And then we'll go back to talk to Sister Carol. Hello.
Hi.
Sorry about that. Why don't we go ahead and take a seat? We can talk a little bit more
Thank you.
about. So, where are we?
We're in the dining room where we serve meals 3 times a week. And this area right out here is where we provide food. We give groceries to over 3,000 people a month. Groceries and meals.
Groceries. And actually, you were, before we began, you were talking about the groceries. You said there was something very interesting about the types of food that they're giving.
Because of the lead in our water, we've been instructed, actually helped also by the food bank, to give things that are high in vitamin C, iron, and calcium. So we are now in the process of trying to provide milk at all of our meals so that they can get the calcium. We have a Head Start program that just started here a week ago, and so we're trying to assist them as well educationally. But those things that we give out that help in that way are juices, of course, not regular juice, not cocktail things, apple, orange, grape, whatever juice we can get. And then we provide milk. We do give that to our people. We give canned salmon, chicken, and tuna, particularly. Those are the meats, or the canned meats, that help the iron.
Okay. Now, the program's been around, obviously, before we had the water issue.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, okay, I'm going to take you back then.
Okay.
Do you remember when you first found out about the lead?
I sure do.
What was it?
It was like an explosion here in the city, because we had known or believed that something was wrong with the water at least 6 months before.
What?
Because the color of the water and the smell of the water was very different for us. And so we chose 6 months before this ever came up to provide bottled water for our cooking.
So what color was the water?
It was kind of a rust color,
Okay.
kind of an orange, almost like a pumpkin.
Almost like it had a lot of
Color.
iron in it or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I don't know what was all in it, but everyone said the water was okay.
And the smell?
The smell was kind of like it was rotten, something was rotting, but it was certainly not appetizing at all. And we chose then to use bottled water for our kitchen, because our focus is the health of our people. And so in order to do that, we already were spending $1,000 a month in water. Now we had to add another $100 a month just for bottled water.
You see, yeah, you're saying your water bill, your normal water bill,
Yeah.
$1,000 a month.
Absolutely.
And now, not only were you having to pay for that, but you had to pay for the bottled water that was coming in. Wow.
And all that we can use that water for is washing the towels in our kitchen, washing the dishes, and flushing the toilets. That's all that we can use.
So nothing consumable, but it is. You're saying that it's all right to wash the dishes in the water here, using the lead. It won't affect.
Right.
It won't become. That won't be poisonous.
Right, and because we also use a disinfectant and everything,
Okay.
because we're a licensed kitchen, so we know that the disinfectant is also part of it. So we know what we have to do. It just costs more to do it.
Anything consumable,
Is
that's got to come from bottled.
is bottled, or as this wonderful facility that we have here that was donated to us, that really helps us, because now we don't have to buy the bottled water.
Yeah.
We give bottled water away every day
Yeah, portable.
to our people. Yes.
Because outside of the facility, obviously, it's a really strange feeling in Flint. Just as someone I've only visited twice in the last year, right? And it's a strange feeling to be in Flint, because you can't go to a drinking fountain and take a drink when you're thirsty. You can't, you think about these things. Even, use the bathroom, wash your hands. You think about these things. all the time. And I just can't imagine what it must be like to be living in this circumstance. And so the work you're doing is, it's amazing.
Well, our work, even though it has more to it now because of the water, we truly believe in our work, and it truly is helping so many people gain just confidence in their own life. So we will do whatever we have to in order to make sure that our people are safe.
Well, obviously, you 6 months before, even though everybody was saying the water was safe, you were saying, no, this is not safe water.
Something is wrong here.
Something is wrong
and I'm
here.
not a scientist, but I knew something was
So
wrong.
how does the day-to-day process work on bottled water?
For our people, because or here,
running the kitchen and such. Like how do you cook? How do you provide? You say 3,000 people a month, and how do you cook on bottled water for 3,000 people?
Okay, so what we were doing, like for instance, if we have spaghetti, so we had to put bottled water into our pan in order to boil the spaghetti.
Okay.
We had to use bottled water to rinse all the spaghetti and then serve it. And our people were afraid of the water as well and wanted to know. We had to put a sign up for a while that what we're using here in our kitchen is safe water.
Okay. Hold on a second.
Because otherwise they're not sure.
Okay.
That's
and
the water.
These are the bottles that we're talking about.
That's
so
what we were buying.
You were buying, so for kitchen use, we were using these big kind of,
Making coffee,
yeah.
everything. Ice, we turned our ice machine off. For a year we didn't have ice because we didn't know how to do that healthily. So we just did not have ice. Even during the summer.
And I noticed you have a bunch of empties.
Yes, yes.
What are you going to do with these empties?
We're going to return them to the company and get our deposit back. And because we don't need them anymore, but before we went to the filtered water, we had quite a big shipment of that. So we're still using it, but it's not urgent to use it now, so we don't use as much of it. But we still have 5 or 6 bottles that we have to use up. So.
And I know that's kind of an issue throughout Flint too, is even the small bottles of water that we drink and carry with us. Well, you empty the water, what are you left with? A big plastic bottle that's lying around, and Flint is littered with plastic bottles, which very thankful to people for providing the bottled water, but really the best solution is to find something that's not in a bottle like.
And absolutely, that can come out of our tap.
And that brings us back to kind of what Joe's provided.
Yes.
Now, how has word gotten out? I mean, to the people that come here that the water is now safer, that it's.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they know that. They ask it, and when we put the sign up, and we said that Joe had done this for us, and they trust it. They trust us, so they're going to trust what we tell them. They don't ask that again. They just know that what water we use here is safe for them.
Well, and you talked about the frustration of the people coming in, and I would imagine that has to be somewhat of a huge relief for them to at least know that this is a safe haven where not only are you providing education and food, but now you also have safe water.
Yeah, it's a safe place for them, and they know that in all ways. But we've had water recovery classes here, and the absolute biggest problem, the water obviously is one, but it's created such a lack of trust. So water is an issue, but to me the lack of trust is even larger than the water issue right now. How do you build a trust that's been broken? How do you build a trust when somebody has lied to you? That takes a long, long time.
Yeah. And what does that do to hope?
Oh yeah, there isn't any.
Yeah.
It's very diminished right now.
And that seems to be what the people need more than anything, is hope.
Yeah. And right now, one of their hopes is that some of the water lines are finally being changed, and that's great. but there's so many that need to be changed.
So it's an immense job.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge.
Well,
It's a huge problem.
all right. I think we're gonna go and look at Joe's system
Okay.
again. It looks like Joe's staying there, so I'm assuming that we've got a clean filter to look at.
Everything's working perfect.
All
Excellent.
right.
I'll be right back then. All right. So, tell us about your baby.
Okay. The system is a 3-part filter. We filter the water 3 ways. The first filter is a ceramic scrubbable 1/2 micron filter that takes out all the sediment in the water. And if you look at if you remember the original shot, this was pumpkin orange from all the sediment, primarily iron oxide, that's been released from the interior of the pipes as they're trying to repair the systems chemically. The second filter is a specific filter that ionizes the lead in the water and filters the lead and arsenic out. There's a substantial amount of arsenic in the water in Genesee County. I'm not clear that our primary focus right now is the lead, but this does the arsenic as well. And this last canister here is a UV blast. We hit it with UV ultraviolet rays that kill all the microbes that get past the sediment filters. So there's either growies, microbes, biological agents, and or chemicals in the water. So we first peel out all the chemicals and filter out all the chemicals that we're attempting to filter out, and then we blast all the microbes out of the water with the UV. And at the end of the day, we end up with about a gallon a minute flow rate. And I'll show you the new flow rate. If you remember, it was trickling out. It was just trickling. With clean filters, it just blasts water again.
Wow.
So we're now filtering the water, and when it finally comes out, it goes through now, and it's building up pressure to get to the tank again. There it goes. It started up again. It comes up, and we fill the tank. We have 160 gallons of water here. This will fill, well, it'll fill in 100, roughly 3 or 4 hours now because it's so low. But if you remember, we filled about 2 inches since we got here.
Yeah.
A half hour ago, or less than that, because I had to shut it off to clean it. But this tank is then piped directly into the kitchen. Let's go to the kitchen.
All right. Now, so this water coming in.
This is water coming in.
That is Flint.
That's Flint water. It's coming straight out of the pipe from the Flint water system.
And this water here, no E. coli, no lead.
No lead. Going in, all bets are off. Because any given day, the chemical soup that they're putting in the pipes is variable. It's in flux. It's variable.
Oh.
So you never know if you're going to get hit with a little bit of lead or a little bit of microbes. You don't know what's going on in the water right now. So this actually is a safe haven for the water.
Absolutely.
So it comes off of this. We split it right off of the sink here, just straight off of the sink. We put a splitter valve in, and straight off the pipe into our system, and now into the tank.
Yeah, probably the cleanest water in Flint.
I believe it might be the only clean water in Flint. Unfortunately, I'm laughing, but
No.
it's a sad
I get what you're
reality.
saying.
Yeah.
So how many other locations have you set up?
We have another location at St. Mary's, which is down the road, and but the problem with that one is, and we have a tank condition there also, and we're helping we were this winter helping a lot more people than we are now. They haven't gotten relief on the cost of the water. So if they start distributing our purified water, it's costing this really cash-strapped parish essential money. They can't afford to subsidize what we taxpayers are supposed to be receiving.
Okay.
And so that has diminished radically in its distribution because they're not getting any relief from the
So it's like Sister Carol was saying, she paid $1,000 a month for the water. Well, the water that they're purifying is that $1,000 worth of money of water that's coming in, and so St. Mary's doesn't have the money to pay that water bill to keep giving the water away to everybody.
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct. Now, if the tank pipes right into here, and it's either going into the ice maker, which, here we go, purified ice for the first time.
Yep.
We literally bypass their other filter here, and because the water's already filtered, and directly from our tap goes into their ice maker, and now they have ice to serve with their meals. It's just, I'm really proud of that. And then from here, they fill their spaghetti pots and cans and coffee and anything else with safe water. So we have, I'm really happy to say we're making a contribution here. We're one tiny little spoke in the wheel of help here, and I'm really proud to make that contribution. It's really great.
That's a fantastic system you have.
Yeah,
Seriously.
the people here are just incredible.
So we've had an opportunity to speak to two very wonderful people doing very wonderful things in Flint. I think we're going to head back out to the table, and then if you have any questions, by all means, send them through, and we will ask away. Okay, why don't we go
Great.
take a seat?
Thanks, Scott.
Be all about you two. Hello, we're back.
Hello.
I think that what we're going to do is see if anyone has any questions for you two about what's going on.
Well, actually, we have a question from Victoria, and it looks like it's a question for Joe.
Okay.
How effective is the system on chromium-6 contamination?
I haven't investigated that yet. I'm anxious to. That's the Aaron Brockovich chemical. That's the one that started the whole ball rolling. There's so many ways to catch different chemicals. It all depends on the particulate size. And most of these chemicals are big enough to grab. They're composites, they're not tiny little pieces. So it all depends on the size of the particulate. We'll do a little bit of research, and there's a good chance that we can do that. A very good chance.
Okay.
So that was, I find that was one thing that the two of you sort of have in common. Is that you took your passion, your area of expertise, and you've both brought them back to a place that I don't think you thought you were going to. You developed Merlin initially, you were thinking for third world countries, never really thinking that it was going to be here in Flint that you would find.
I started this to help the people in Haiti when they went through that disastrous hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
I had empty time because our economy is so sluggish. I'm an architect, and there wasn't enough, and I'm a busy guy. I like to stay active. So I realized that only something like 2,000 people got destroyed in the hurricane, and then 200,000 died from waterborne illnesses. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be a way, an economical way, to help these people.
Mm-hmm.
And so with my friend that invented the hydrogen cracker for his diesel motors, he needed purified water. That was one of the initial reasons to do this. Along with Chuck's voyages of the Merlin, there became a multi-track event here on how to provide healthy and safe water economically. But my original focus was grabbed when those poor people in Haiti got devastated by that hurricane, and it wasn't the event that did it.
It was the aftermath.
It was the aftermath, the subsequent waterborne illnesses. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everybody's throwing filters away, just like the bottled water. And by the way, nobody knows what's in that bottled water. The filters many people in the world have really great filters. The problem is they're disposable. So you end up with another pile of junk. What do you do with it? And in this particular instance, with all these, you saw the quality of the water with all the sediment in the water. It will destroy a filter in the matter of minutes at a healthy flow rate. It had to be thrown away. This filter system, you wash it, put it back in, and you can get up to 500,000 gallons with a single filter. That's a huge benefit for these events like the hurricane disaster relief, like the ladies that are using it, the nuns, more nuns, over in Nepal, trekking it up and down the mountain from village to village to village. it's an amazing device that helps many people in many ways. But this system was specifically designed for this particular use. And there's, I mean, you take a problem and you solve it one problem at a time.
And that's what's going on here. And I thought about the water that was in the filter when we came in, and that took me back to the way that you were describing the water when it was at its worst. And I can just imagine it's wonderful work that you're both doing here, bringing hope.
We have
back to
one more
Flint.
question here.
Yeah.
How, this was directed to you, I think, Sister Carol. How has this system helped the people you serve in Flint?
It's helped them trust us here, and they know that the water, anything that's cooked here and the water that we provide for meals here is safe. So it's added to the trust element for our people.
All right. And then we have a question, how can young people get involved and help out the people of Flint?
We love to have young people come here and volunteer. We have alternative spring break students that come here every year for I think it's close to a month. In February and March, we have alternative spring break people that come. They choose Flint as an alternative spring break over Haiti or any of the foreign missions that they could go to. And that's very heartwarming to us. It's sad that it has to be for an alternative spring break because this is Michigan. This is United States of America. But it is heartening for them to come to be with us. So anyone in the area, in the Flint area, we can always use tutors and volunteers to do almost anything. If someone has the heart for the city and really wants to work with us, just come on down.
Well, and thank you, Victoria. Victoria's saying great job by everybody. So.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that will wrap us up here today. Thank you for tuning in to Merlin Live, and hopefully we'll see you somewhere down the line.